Welcome to this deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be cracking open Ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life.
Ooh,
And we're also going to be pulling in some insights from its recommended reading list.
nice.
Yeah, our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to unlock those secrets to a longer and happier life,
I like it.
all inspired by Japanese culture and wisdom.
Awesome.
So are you ready to dive in and see if we can figure out how to live like the centenarians of Okinawa?
I'm so ready. I love that you framed it as a quest
Oh, yeah.
because unlocking secrets implies there's more to it than just reading a book, you know?
Right.
It makes me wonder, what kind of life are you hoping to unlock for yourself?
Ooh, that's a good question. Honestly, I think we all want that feeling of waking up excited for the day,
Yeah,
knowing that what we're doing has meaning,
totally.
and to have that energy well into our later years like the folks in Okinawa. Isn't that what Ikigai is all about?
It's more than just excitement, though, isn't it? The book talks about Ikigai as the intersection of what you love, what you're good at,
Right.
what the world needs, and what you can get paid for.
Okay.
So it's purpose, but it's also grounded in practicality.
Yeah, which makes it feel more attainable,
Yeah.
I think. But the book also mentions these blue zones, like Okinawa. What's so special about them, beyond just people living a long time?
It's the how they live, not just the how long. So in Okinawa, there's social support networks called moai.
Okay.
They're not just like casual friends, right? They're like
Yeah.
lifelong bonds, almost like extended family sharing resources, responsibilities, even childcare.
Wow.
It's built-in stress reduction and belonging,
Right.
which probably does wonders for their health.
I see what you mean about the how it's not just about living longer. It's about having this quality of life that sustains you.
Yeah.
But I'm curious.
Yeah.
We know that staying mentally active is good for us. Does Maximum Brain Power, one of the recommended books,
Yes.
talk about this at all?
It does, and it connects beautifully to what we're saying about Okinawa.
Okay.
So Maximum Brain Power argues that novelty, learning new skills, having new experiences is like weightlifting for your brain.
Interesting.
It creates new neural connections, keeping you sharp. Okinawans with their moai and active lifestyles are probably getting that novelty naturally, don't you think?
Yeah, that makes sense. They're
Yeah.
not just sitting around reminiscing about the good old days.
Right.
They're actively engaged in their community, which must keep their minds stimulated too.
Totally.
But the book also talks about flow states.
Yes.
We've all heard that term.
Yeah.
But how does Ikigai frame it differently?
It connects flow directly to living your Ikigai. The example they use is an elevator operator.
Right.
Someone most of us would consider having a pretty mundane job.
Right.
This person becomes a takumi of elevator operation by finding flow in every interaction,
Wow.
every button press. That's powerful.
That's amazing. Yeah. So it's not just about finding a flow state while painting or writing music.
Yeah.
It's about bringing that level of presence and engagement to whatever you're doing,
Yes.
even if it's seemingly ordinary.
Exactly. And if you think about those takumi master artisans who dedicate their lives to their craft,
Yeah.
they're not just skilled, they're deeply fulfilled by their work. That level of focus probably does wonders for their well-being too.
It's like finding flow becomes a path to your Ikigai, not just like a fleeting state of hyperfocus.
Yes.
But let's get practical. The book also mentions some interesting dietary practices in Okinawa.
Yes.
What's the deal with harahachibu?
Okay. It's so simple, yet brilliant. Eating until you're 80% full. It tackles portion control, encourages mindful eating,
Right.
and likely prevents all sorts of overeating-related health issues.
I have to admit, I'm definitely guilty of cleaning my plate, even when I'm already feeling full.
I think we all are.
But it's not just about portion control, right?
Right.
What kinds of foods do they eat in Okinawa?
They eat a variety of plants, but the book highlights goya,
Goya.
a bitter melon, turmeric, seaweed,
Yeah.
and even shikuwasa, a citrus fruit I'd never heard of before.
Seaweed and turmeric, I
Yeah.
get. But Goya and shikawasa, those are new to me.
Yeah.
It seems like their diet emphasizes fresh, local ingredients,
Yeah.
which is a far cry from our processed food-laden culture.
Exactly. And while they do eat meat, it's not the centerpiece of their meals.
Right.
It's more of a complement to the abundance of plants they consume.
Which makes sense.
Mm.
We're constantly bombarded with messages about the latest superfoods.
Yeah.
But maybe the real secret is just eating a variety of whole unprocessed foods, like the Okinawans.
I think so.
But enough about food. What about exercise? Do they all hit the gym religiously?
Not quite. They incorporate movement into their daily lives. Gardening, walking, traditional dance.
Okay.
It's all part of their routine, Nothing too strenuous, but consistent activity nonetheless.
I can get behind that. It's not about punishing yourself at the gym,
Right.
but finding ways to move your body that you genuinely enjoy.
Yeah.
That's sustainable, right?
Exactly. And speaking of sustainability,
Okay.
this emphasis on consistent, moderate activity ties back into maximum brain power. The book explains that physical activity increases blood flow to the brain, which is essential for optimal cognitive function.
So even a leisurely walk can be a brain booster.
It can.
I like how these concepts are all starting to connect.
Yes.
We've got Ikigai, flow, community, diet, movement. Is there anything else that contributes to this Okinawan longevity?
There's a big one we haven't touched on yet. Resilience.
Okay.
And the book dives into some fascinating Japanese concepts that contribute to it.
Okay. I'm intrigued. What's their secret to bouncing back from challenges?
Well, they have this concept called wabi-sabi,
Wabi-sabi.
which is about finding beauty in imperfection. Instead of striving for unattainable perfection,
Right.
they embrace the flaws and impermanence of life.
That's a really different way of looking at things.
It is.
How does that actually translate into resilience, though?
Think about it. If you're constantly chasing perfection, every setback feels like a failure.
Right.
But with wabi-sabi, you accept that things are always in flux, imperfect, and that's okay. It takes the pressure off.
That's so true. It's like giving yourself permission to be human.
Yeah.
To make mistakes. To not have it all figured out.
Right.
And maybe that freedom actually makes you more resilient because you're not constantly beating yourself up.
Exactly.
For not being perfect.
Yeah. And there's another beautiful concept that complements wabi-sabi. Ichigo ichie. It means this moment exists only now and won't come again.
That's a powerful reminder to be present.
Yes.
It almost makes me think of mindfulness,
Yeah.
which we know is good for stress reduction and mental clarity. But how do you actually practice Ichigo ichi? Sounds kind of abstract.
It's about savoring the small moments, even the seemingly mundane ones.
Right.
Really listening to a friend's story, noticing the way sunlight filters through the leaves,
Right.
fully experiencing that first sip of coffee in the morning.
It's like bringing that Takumi level of attention to every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Instead of rushing through your day on autopilot, you're fully present and engaged in each moment. I can see how that would shift your perspective.
Yes.
Making you more appreciative and resilient.
Exactly. And all these practices, from cultivating flow to embracing wabi-sabi, they start to paint a picture of a life that isn't just long, but deeply fulfilling. And isn't that what we're all searching for?
Absolutely. It's like a recipe for a life well lived. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, right?
It is.
I'm curious to explore some of these other books and see what additional insights they offer.
Let's dive into that.
Right.
We've barely scratched the surface of what these sources have to offer.
Sounds like a plan. Stay with us as we delve deeper into the world of Ikigai and beyond. Okay, so we've been talking about finding your Ikigai, cultivating flow, even tweaking your diet and exercise habits.
Right?
But I'm curious about the psychological side of this longevity puzzle.
You're sensing the through line.
Yeah.
Ikigai does touch on purpose and resilience. But to go deeper, let's pull in Viktor Frankl's work.
Okay.
His book, Man's Search for Meaning, is powerful stuff.
I know. It was born from his experiences in Nazi concentration camps.
Yeah.
Which is just unimaginable hardship.
Absolutely.
But how does that connect to finding your Ikigai? Isn't that almost a privileged concept, needing to feel fulfilled in your work when people are just trying to survive?
That's where Frankl gets fascinating. He doesn't deny the suffering.
Yeah, okay.
In fact, he argues that it's unavoidable.
Okay.
But through logotherapy, his approach to psychotherapy, he says even in suffering, we have the freedom to choose our response. And that's where meaning can be found.
So it's not about pretending everything's fine.
No.
It's about finding something to hold on to even when things are terrible.
Exactly.
Does that tie into Ikigai directly?
It does, in the sense that both Ikigai and logotherapy are about finding what drives you internally. Regardless of external circumstances, Frankl talks about finding meaning in creative work, experiencing beauty, and even in how we face unavoidable suffering.
Okay. Those first two make sense to me.
Yeah.
Like creating something that expresses who you are.
Yeah.
Or connecting deeply with nature or another person. But finding meaning in suffering. I'm not sure I understand that.
Yeah. It's not about enjoying suffering, but rather finding purpose within it. For Frankl, it was about helping others survive the camps.
Right.
Clinging to the hope of seeing his wife again. It gave him a reason to keep going when all seemed lost.
So it's almost like Ikigai in extreme circumstances.
Yeah.
Even when the world is falling apart, you find that one thing.
Right.
that makes life worth living. That's incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But it seems almost impossible to achieve
Yeah.
on a regular Tuesday, you know?
Right. We're not all facing those levels of hardship.
Right.
But the takeaway is that this inner drive, this search for meaning, is part of what makes us human.
Yeah.
And finding that, nurturing it, could be part of why Okinawans live so long. They're not just existing. They have that Ikigai flame burning.
But is it all about willpower? Just deciding to have a positive attitude? That feels a bit simplistic, doesn't it?
This is where another approach, Morita therapy, comes in.
Morita therapy.
It was developed in Japan, and like Ikigai, it's very action-oriented.
Yeah.
But instead of fighting your feelings, it's about accepting them and taking action anyway.
So if I'm feeling anxious about a project, instead of trying to force myself to be calm, I just acknowledge the anxiety and get to work.
Exactly.
That almost seems counterintuitive.
It can feel that way. Morita therapists would argue that those feelings are temporary.
Okay.
They come and go. What matters is what you do despite them. The action itself can shift your perspective over time.
I can see how that would be useful for procrastination.
Right.
But what about deeper emotional issues?
Yeah.
Does Morita therapy address those?
It's not a quick fix for trauma or clinical depression for sure.
Okay.
But the core idea is that you're not your thoughts or feelings. You're the one having them.
Okay.
And you still have the power to choose your actions.
I'm starting to see the connection to Ikigai again.
Yes.
If you're waiting for the perfect mood or mindset to pursue your purpose,
right.
You might be waiting forever. You just have to start.
Precisely. And like those Okinawan moai provide practical support.
Right.
Taking action, even small steps, builds a sense of agency.
Yeah.
It proves to yourself that you're capable, which can be a powerful antidote to feeling helpless or stuck.
Okay. But it still feels like we're focused on the individual's efforts here.
Okay.
What about the role of relationships, of giving back to others?
Yeah.
Does any of the suggested reading touch on that?
There's one practice, Nikan meditation, that really resonated with me. It's about introspection.
Okay.
But specifically focusing on your relationships with other people.
Introspection. Okay. I can see how that could be valuable.
Yeah.
But what's so special about Nikan?
It asks you to contemplate 3 things about each relationship.
Oh, okay.
What you've received from that person, what you've given, and what troubles you've caused them.
Wow. That's pretty intense.
Yeah.
It's not just about your own feelings.
Right.
It's about acknowledging your impact on others. I could see that leading to some uncomfortable realizations.
It can be, but the point isn't to wallow in guilt. It's about fostering gratitude for what you've received and prompting you to consider how you can give back, even in small ways.
I like that it's reciprocal.
Yeah.
It's not just about taking care of yourself. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected.
Yeah.
And that our actions affect those around us.
Right. And that ties back into the Okinawan moai. Those strong social bonds aren't just about taking. They're about mutual support. And that sense of belonging, of contributing to something larger than yourself,
right,
could be another key ingredient in their longevity recipe.
So it's like a virtuous cycle.
Yes.
You cultivate your Ikigai.
Right.
You find ways to contribute to your community.
Yeah.
And those actions, in turn, create a more supportive environment that helps you thrive.
Exactly. And all of this, from Frankel's search for meaning to the practices of Morita therapy and Nikan meditation,
right,
it's not just about adding years to your life. It's about adding life to your years.
That's a great way to put it. It's not just about living longer. It's about living better.
Yes.
And maybe that's the real secret to longevity.
Yeah.
But wait, there's still more to uncover from the suggested reading, right?
Absolutely. We've got Dan Buettner's research on blue zones to explore.
Let's dive into that next. Stay with us as we continue our quest for a longer, happier, and more purposeful life. All right, we're back, and I am ready to travel the world. Virtually, of course. We're digging into Dan Buettner's research on blue zones, those pockets around the globe where people seem to have cracked the longevity code.
Buckle up Buettner's book, The Blue Zones, Lessons for Living Longer from the People Who've Lived the Longest.
Okay.
It takes us beyond Okinawa to places like Sardinia, Italy,
Nice.
the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica.
Wow.
Even Loma Linda, California.
Loma Linda, California. I thought blue zones were all about these far-flung exotic locales.
Right.
What's so special about Loma Linda?
It's home to a community of Seventh-day Adventists
Oh, okay.
who are known for their healthy lifestyles. Buettner found they live about a decade longer than the average American, proving it's not just geography.
Right.
It's lifestyle choices.
Okay, so it's not about finding some magical fountain of youth hidden on a remote island.
Right.
It's about adopting habits that support longevity no matter where you live.
Exactly.
But with such diverse cultures, were there any commonalities across these blue zones?
Absolutely. Buettner identified 9 key lifestyle factors. He calls them the Power 9 that weave through all these communities.
Power 9. I like it.
Yeah.
It sounds like a superhero team for longevity.
Oh.
Okay, hit me with those principles.
All right, they're more down to earth than you might think. Number 1 is moving naturally. We're not talking marathon running, but incorporating activity into daily life, like the Okinawans, gardening or walking.
Makes sense. It's about making movement a part of your routine.
Right.
Not a chore you have to squeeze in.
Yeah.
What else is on the list?
Having a strong sense of purpose, Buettner calls it knowing your why.
Okay.
This echoes Ikigai, doesn't it?
Right.
It's not just about living longer, it's about knowing what you're living for.
Right. So it's not just about adding years to your life, but adding life to your years. I'm sensing a theme here. What about stress? Surely these folks experience stress too.
They do, but they're masters of downshifting. They have rituals for relaxation, prayer, meditation, happy hour with friends.
Yeah.
It's about actively managing stress, not letting it control their lives.
That's something I could definitely work on. My default mode is go, go, go.
I hear you.
But okay, enough about stress. What about the fun stuff?
All right, get ready for more plant power. The Blue Zones diets are all about a plant slant, emphasizing fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains. Meat is a side dish, not the main event.
So it's not about being strictly vegan or vegetarian,
Right.
but rather recognizing that plants should be the foundation of your diet.
Exactly.
Makes you wonder what those Okinawan shikawasa taste like, doesn't it?
Right. Always room for new culinary adventures.
Yeah.
And speaking of enjoying life, moderate alcohol consumption is on the list too. Think a glass of wine with dinner, not binge drinking.
I'll raise a glass to that. Social connection seems to be a key theme as well.
Absolutely.
You've got belonging to a faith-based community or other social group,
Yes.
putting loved ones first,
Yeah.
surrounding yourself with the right tribe.
It all points to the power of social connection,
Right.
which we already saw in Okinawa's moai. It seems having strong supportive relationships
Yeah.
is a global recipe for longevity. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Humans are social creatures. We thrive on connection.
Absolutely. It's not just about what you eat or how much you exercise.
Right.
It's about cultivating a life that's rich in meaning, purpose, and connection.
You've summed it up beautifully. And the beauty of the Power 9 is that it's not about drastic overhauls.
Right.
It's about incorporating small, sustainable changes that over time can have a significant impact on your well-being.
It's like we've been piecing together a puzzle throughout this deep dive. From Ikigai and flow to the resilience of Frankl and the interconnectedness highlighted by Nikon.
Right.
And now the Power 9. It's a holistic picture of how to live a longer, healthier, and more fulfilling life.
And the most exciting part is that this journey is uniquely yours to create.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about taking inspiration from these principles and crafting a life that resonates with your own values and aspirations. And who knows, maybe you'll discover your own personal blue zone right in your own backyard.
Now there's a thought to leave our listeners with.
Keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep seeking those things that bring you joy and purpose.